In this video, I want to chat about GD&T resources. So in addition to watching videos that I make or other people make or reading a textbook, there's all sorts of ways, depending on what kind of job you're doing, to learn more and be more proficient. So the first thing I'll mention are these little pocket handbooks. These are great if you're just in the shop, you're not, putting GD&T on drawings, you're just interpreting it. There's a bunch of different ones. They're all pretty similar. They give you the bare bones, what the symbols mean, and some basic how to apply it and what you're looking for at inspection. They're great for the shop floor or if you're just getting started in a QC lab. The next are textbooks. So if you take a college course on print reading, GD&T, CAD, you'll typically have a textbook. This one is written by Bruce A. Wilson. This is what I use in my courses. He has one for 94, 2009, and this is the 2018 version. I highly recommend these. They're very well written. They're very long, but he gives really detailed explanations about how all this stuff works. So the standard, which I'll talk about, ASME Y145 in a minute, tells you what the standard is, but doesn't do a great job of explaining exactly how you're going to use it and how you would inspect the stuff. Mr. Wilson does a great job of explaining it in great detail. It can get a little bit wordy, but it's definitely a great place to start, to step up from those pocket handbooks. And it's what you'll use in a typical college course. Now, the next, if you're doing more of the inspection side, not necessarily making drawings, say you're working full-time in a QC lab, the Handbook of Dimensional Metrology is really like a one-of-a-kind book. I don't really know any others that go into great detail about how you actually inspect this stuff. So it tells you what tools you need, what you're looking for, and then different ways to inspect things, and really importantly, the accuracy of the different techniques of measurement. So it'll explain why you can measure some things with calipers and you can't measure some things with calipers, the different kinds of measuring instruments, and the kind of accuracy you're going to get out of them. So if you're working in a QC lab, it's like a must-have book. I'll show it here one more time. It's printed by Industrial Press, the same people that do Machinery's Handbook. So, a fairly trusted print company. The next, if you're working in a drafting room, so you're doing actual design work or you're doing tolerance stack-ups, making drawings, you probably want a copy of the Dimensioning and Tolerancing Handbook. Now, this is a very, very long book. It's a bunch of essays written by experts at various companies on a specific topic. So things like statistical tolerancing, which is not even covered in any detail at all in the ASME standard, is covered in great detail in this book. It covers all sorts of different tolerancing situations. It discusses tolerance stack-ups, which again is something that is barely mentioned in the ASME standard, and just takes you throughout the whole gamut of situations you might run into to make tolerances fit and to make things optimized. So if you need more control over your process and your company, the Dimensioning and Tolerancing Handbook is a great one to have. Now, if you're making drawings, in addition to these, you gotta have a copy of the ASME standard. The reason is that all of these books are explaining the ASME standard, but they're not the standard themselves. So in the beginning of the ASME standard, it says something like you have to put on your drawing that the drawing is interpreted in accordance with ASME Y145 and whatever year you're using. The reason you do this is because everybody needs to go to the same place to get the same result. So this is ASME Y145 2009. This is a really common one out there. A lot of companies still use it, even though it's been superseded by the 2018 version. So when you put on your drawing, interpret in accordance with this standard, It's the standard. It's not the textbook that explains the standard, right? So when you're using a textbook to justify things in the QC lab or on the shop floor or in the design room, you're not going to the right place. You need to go to the standard, find out what it says, and then be able to explain that to your customer or your boss. It's because drawings are a legal document, you have to go to the source documentation to find out that information. If you're just in school, in college, trying to learn this stuff, I highly recommend go on eBay, get yourself a copy of the 1994 standard. It's 40, 50 bucks usually. That's how much I got this one for. It has 95% of what you need to know about GD&T already in it. It's nice and cheap. The 2009 version is still sold new by ASME, so it's like $250 to get it from ASME, and the used prices aren't that much better. I wouldn't recommend it if you're in school. If you're drafting full time, you go ahead and get your company to buy it for you, get it on PDF, however you need to. 2018 standard, if your company uses that, you'll want to have that copy. I'll mention that the 2018 standard does have some great features. The older standards had their written stuff and their figures all mixed up. So you might be reading a paragraph about perpendicularity, and the figure that goes to that paragraph might be 6 pages later. So you got to flip through and find the figure to see what you're looking at. 2018 does this really smart thing where they put all of the words, the paragraphs, in the first part of the chapter, and then they put all the figures in the second part of the chapter. So it's really easy to leaf through because, let's be honest, a lot of times you gotta see the picture to understand it, right? This stuff is difficult to understand just with words. Now, the last thing I'll talk about, if you're working at a company that's dealing with older drawings, so maybe you got equipment out in the field that's 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and that the drawings are done to an older standard, say 1982, 1973, if you're going to update those drawings or interpret them in any way, you're going to want to have a copy of the 1982 standard, if it's done to that standard, or the 1973 standard. They look pretty similar. Again, these can be got on eBay pretty cheap. I think I got each of these for about 40 bucks. There are big changes between 73, 82, 94, 2009, especially when it comes to the MMC symbol. In the 1973 standard, you were allowed to imply MMC, whereas now MMC has to be called out on the drawing. If I'm not mistaken, 1973, you could still use implied datums in certain situations, whereas you cannot do that now. So little changes. If you really have to know the correct answer, because again, drawings are legal contracts. You want to be in the right if you're going to go to war with a customer or your boss or something. The ASME standards are the way to go. So that's it for this video. That's where I get almost all of my information about GD&T. It's pretty boring. You got to read books, you got to take notes, you got to study. You can learn a lot from watching videos or doing hands-on stuff, but at some point you got to crack open the standard and read what it says. So if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll make more of these videos coming soon.